My text is actually 1 John 3:8. The very last part of that verse says, the reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the devil's work. But in reality, most of what I am saying is coming from the 13th chapter of John. Matthew, Mark, Luke, each one gives a descriptive narrative of what happened in that upper room at what we now call the Passover that was transformed into the Lord's Supper. Matthew, Mark, and Luke tell of the Lord's Supper. John's Gospel does not really give details about the Last Supper or none of the Lord's Supper, other than he tells us that when they met in that upper room, Jesus washed the feet of the disciples. And then he gives us some other details about what happened in that upper room that are not in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. You know, the devil is real. Now, you may not believe that, and many in the world do not. They say it's superstition, it's voodoo, it's Ghostbusters, or it's something else. It's just not real. But Satan is a real being. Now, I try to be careful when I preach or teach much about satanic activity or demonology, because sometimes people just go wild with it, go off the deep end, and actually confuses people more than it helps people. But there is a real demonic power that is in the person of one who is called the devil, or it's called Satan. His name, Satan, means adversary, one who's against God and one who's against you. And no one can doubt the reality of a real Satan. No one can doubt the reality of demonic activity that could have watched what occurred on Friday night at midnight. That cannot be anything but satanic. To get into a person, to cause them to massacre so many people that just went to a movie to have a good time. If you do not believe in the reality of Satan, you tell that to the parents, the husband or the wife or the loved one or the children of those 12 who died. If you do not believe in the reality of a Satan, you tell that to the families of the 58 truly innocent people who were wounded, some of whom still may die. I will not even mention the name of the man who perpetrated this, because he wants us to. He wants attention. He wants glory. He wants people talking about him. I won't even mention his name. But what I will try to do is come across to you and to myself an understanding that there is a real Satan in the world that can get inside of a person and cause horrific massacre and death. Jesus met with his disciples in the upper room. In John chapter 13, it was just before the Passover feast, and Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave the world and go to the Father. And having loved his own who were in the world, he showed them the full extent of his love. King James Version just simply says, he loved them to the end. That could be the end of his earthly ministry, the end of his physical life. But I think when it says he loved them to the end, it meant he loved them as much as anyone could ever love. All the way love. Sacrificial love. Self-giving love. Jesus, 12 disciples, perhaps someone else that helped prepare the meal. But who else was in that room? Satan was in the upper room. Satan can be in this room and is in this room. We read in John 13, the evening meal was being served, and the devil already prompted Judas Iscariot, son of Simon, to betray Jesus. He prompted Judas. He encouraged Judas. He suggested to Judas that he do this, and that was done days before. But now they're in the upper room. And we read these words. Jesus has said, someone's going to betray me. They said, who is it? And Jesus answered, it is the one whom I give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish. Then dipping the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas Iscariot. And as soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered him. First, Satan prompts him, suggests to him. Now in the upper room, Satan actually enters him. And as soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him, and Jesus told him, what you are about to do, do it quickly. Judas could not betray Jesus until Jesus gave approval of it. Satan cannot harm you until God gives him approval to do it. And why does he do that? To humble you, to teach you, to strengthen you, to transform you. But in Judas's case, it did not humble him, it did not change him, it did not transform him, but it commanded Judas to do what Satan wanted him to do. But he could not do it until Jesus said, whatever you're going to do, and he knew what he was going to do it quickly. Satan is in the upper room, and Satan is in the heart of Judas. Satan can be in this room, and he can be in your heart. I do not know that, but God knows. But in spite of all of that, when Judas leaves, we read in John 13, when he was gone, Jesus said, now the Son of Man is dead? No. Now the Son of Man, meaning himself, is defeated? No. Now the Son of Man is destroyed? No. He says, now the Son of Man is glorified, and God is glorified in him. And 1 John 1:3-8 tells us again, he who does what is sinful is of the devil, because the devil has been sinning from the beginning. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the devil's work. The devil is defeated, but he's not dead. He's still alive and acting and working in the world, as I believe he did that Friday night, and maybe as he did with you today. He's not dead, though he is defeated because of what Christ did. From the cradle all the way to the cross, the incarnate God, the Son of Man, God in the flesh, destroys Satan on the cross. I quote in closing from Heinrich Schiller, who was born about the time of the First World War in Germany, and by the time of the Second World War was opposing Hitler and the Nazis. He had studied in an evangelical university Bible studies. He learned the Bible. He taught the Bible. And I'll be honest, he converted to the Catholic faith. But he opposed Hitler, and he opposed Satan, and he opposed evil. And he said this, please hear this, Christ has left the devil only whatever power our unbelief allows him. Did you hear that? Christ has left the devil this much power. The power that your unbelief and my unbelief allow him. So if the devil is conquering you, if he's working in your life, in your family, in your church, it is because your unbelief allows it. Satan suggested to Judas. Satan entered Judas. But Judas himself made the decision. Satan is alive and kicking. And he's in the world just as he was Friday night. He's in the world right now. But he only has the power that you allow him to have. And God gives to you, through his broken body and his poured out blood, he gives to you the victory over Satan. Trust it. Believe it. Cling to it. Hold on to it. Cherish it. Praise God for